Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. One of the more intriguing storylines coming out of a monster recruiting weekend for this USC program is it looks like there's another quarterback on the board for Lincoln Riley in this USC program. Four-star quarterback Jonas Williams from the state of Illinois. Now, we're going to get to know Jonas Williams a little bit, but I want to start with this is kind of a divergence of how we've seen Lincoln Riley operate on the recruiting trail as it pertains to the quarterback position, where normally, or at least historically under Lincoln Riley, he wants to go out and focus on one quarterback. Lincoln Riley looks at all the quarterbacks in a recruiting class, finds the guy that he likes the most, then heavily pursues that one quarterback. And let's be honest, it's worked very well for Lincoln Riley during his time at USC and Oklahoma. Obviously, nobody really develops quarterbacks better than Lincoln Riley. It also has backfired at times. Most recently with Dylan Raiola, who USC went after very hard in that 2024 class. Dylan ends up going to Nebraska, and USC largely was kind of holding an empty bag at the quarterback position. And then when Malachi Nelson transferred out, it was a thin quarterback room all of a sudden. I don't know if this is Lincoln Riley personally changing how he wants to recruit quarterbacks, or potentially the influence of Chad Bowden coming in as the general manager of this program and saying, hey, we gotta go after more than just one quarterback, especially after the Julian Lewis situation that we saw over the last 8 months, where it was Julian Lewis is committed to USC, but clearly not all that committed, taking a lot of other visits to a lot of other programs. If these quarterbacks at the high school ranks are going to do that, you as a program kind of have to do that too, to ensure that you have a quarterback that you can go get in these high school classes. Jonas Williams, Ryder Lyons, they seem to be the two quarterbacks that USC wants to go after in 2026. Now, I don't necessarily know if it's a either or situation, right? Jonas Williams, Ryder Lyons, both in the 2026 class, but we all know Ryder Lyons is going to take that 1 year mission. So essentially a 2027 kid. So we're sitting here and saying, who's going to be the USC quarterback of the future? Very well could be both Jonas Williams and Ryder Lyons, depending how things shake out. But I do want to get to know Jonas Williams a little bit more, because this was a guy that I remember breaking down when he committed to Oregon in the summer. You get some access to some of the junior year film. Jonas Williams is a very intriguing quarterback prospect that fits what Lincoln Riley wants in a quarterback. And I think you saw it with Hassan Longstreet. You're going to see it with a guy like Ryder Lyons and Jonas Williams. Lincoln Riley wants to get back to these dynamic, athletic quarterbacks that can test a defense in a multitude of different ways. With the offense and how it ran with a guy like Miller Moss, and even to an extent Jaden Maeva in the 2024 season, it was just not really the Lincoln Riley offense that we were used to seeing because of the athletic limitations that we saw at the quarterback spot. Jonas Williams, Hassan Longstreet, Ryder Lyons, all these guys that Lincoln Riley is going after and bringing into this USC program, it's getting back to the dynamic quarterback that can extend out of the pocket, be a threat with the legs, and throw off platform, which is a very important skill set to being the quarterback in this Lincoln Riley offense. Want to get into Jonas Williams, talk about what he brings to the table, how he stacks up to Ryder Lyons. Before we get into it, as always, the USC fans, I'm just going to say this. It feels different than how we've talked about USC on the recruiting trail in the past. Even when USC caught some fire around this time last year in the spring, this with Chad Bowden coming in and with the staff that Lincoln Riley has put together, I've been very critical about Lincoln Riley at times on the recruiting trail. This 2026 cycle to me feels a little bit different. And I think it's going to be really fun to talk about this program over the next couple of weeks and months on the recruiting trail. And to the USC fans who consistently rock with the fellas as we talk the recruiting trail, can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Without further ado, let's get into Jonas Williams. Now, before we turn on some of the film, let's talk about Jonas Williams as a quarterback, right? 6'1.5", 200 pounds, thick lower half. He's a well put together quarterback, very similar to how we talked about with Hassan Longstreet. Been starting since his freshman year. in the state of Illinois, has compiled over 100 touchdowns, well over 7,000 passing yards, a guy that has played a lot of football and, at least in my opinion, seems to be getting better as a quarterback. And the arrow seems to be trending up, which is, kind of the opposite of how we talked about a guy like Julian Lewis last cycle, where Julian Lewis was really, really damn good early on in his high school career. And for lack of better terms, maybe seemed like he kind of got tapped out. And that's kind of why you saw that recruiting ranking fall a little bit towards the end of the process. Jonas Williams, kind of different level of cat. He's a guy that seems to be getting better as he develops as an athlete and quarterback. Juiced up athlete. You're going to see this right away, whether it's running with the football, whether it's extending outside the pocket. Again, something that is very clear Lincoln Riley values. Son Longstreet has it. Jonas Williams has it. Ryder Lyons has it. Number two, really, really good throwing off platform. And it's one thing to be a really good athlete and get outside the pocket. It's a whole nother thing to say, hey, when you are extending plays, you're normally going to have to throw off platform. Can you do that? Jonas Williams certainly can, and he can throw a lot of different kind of footballs. You'll see him absolutely frozen rope, drive it in, laser beam, but you'll also see him, hey, I'm going to put a little bit of touch on this one, drop it in a bucket. That's another kind of a nuance to the quarterback position that I don't think people talk enough about. I think people sometimes get really infatuated with driving that football and can you throw it 100 miles per hour? Well, hey, it's good to know you can do that. But when you have to layer it over some zone coverage or you have to drop it in the bucket down the sideline, do you have the ability to put some touch on the football? Jonas Williams he can make a lot of different kind of throws on the football field, and a tight window thrower. And this might need to be a little bit roped in at times. He is willing to make some high-level throws. And I think that's probably just the development of a quarterback at times. Hey, I'm a really, really talented kid. When is it the right time and place to really make a high-level throw? And when is it, hey, maybe I got to stop putting the ball in harm's way? You kind of trust Lincoln Riley's going to get that out of Jonas Williams if he ends up coming to USC. Committed to Oregon right now. Oregon's sniffing around a lot of other quarterbacks in the 2026 class. This is one that I look at and say, wouldn't be surprised if this one does not stick. Not only because Jonas Williams is certainly entertaining other suitors, but Oregon's certainly entertaining other quarterbacks as well. The guys like Ryder Lyons, Jerry Curtis. Let's get into the film, talk about how Jonas Williams, Ryder Lyons stack up against one another. The first thing you're going to see with Jonas Williams is that he is a playmaker, difference maker at the quarterback position. Now, do you want to see this type of stuff at the college level? No, probably not. But it does give you a sense of the playmaking ability in the juiced up athletic. I mean, he's just making people miss routinely. You talk about helping out your offensive line, going outside the pocket, extending plays. Jonas Williams can do that. Okay, it's important to be able to extend plays. Can you throw off platform? Take a look at this tight window throw on the run, laser beam, right where you need it. I mean, this throw off platform, really, really impressive. And it is on an absolute rope too. Really, really big time talent in the arm. You see the athleticism in it. It's not just about extending plays with Jonas Williams. It's about being legitimately dynamic when we have the football in our hands out in space. And he's a big cat. He's 6'1.5", 200 plus pounds. He's a guy that can go be an athlete in space more times than not. You take a look at the film. Here's a tight window throw. We're just driving this ball in there. And again, you look at this one and say, this is not a very big window. We got to drive this sucker in. And that's exactly what we do. I think Jonas Williams, really, really exciting cat. Again, you see him out extending plays, throwing off platform, bouncing off tackles, and again, throwing across your chest, rope, on the sideline, perfect ball placement. Those are things you can't really teach. Again, driving into a tight window over the middle of the field. This is something that we're going to try to pause this here. This is something that a lot of young quarterbacks struggle with. How to Miller Moss, to Miller Moss's credit, Miller Moss was really good over the middle of the field. A lot of young quarterbacks really struggle to see what's going on in the middle. You got to throw this ball with some anticipation. I mean, you're getting ready to throw this football and he's not open. You got to throw him to space and zone coverage. Can you be that guy? Yeah, that's a lot of quarterbacks need to see it before they throw it. You see examples on the film with Jonas Williams where, hey, I'm throwing my guys open in the zone coverage. And if you want to play at a high level in college football, you have to be able to throw with anticipation into zone coverage over the middle of the field. Really good example of Jonas Williams doing that. Continuing to work through it. Hey, we just saw it. It's been a laser show so far, right? We are just really driving that sucker in. So let's go drop it in a bucket real quick. Absolute moonshot, dropping it right in the bucket. All sorts of different throws. Really quick release too right here. Think this is impressive on the next play. We're going to snap our head around, get our feet set, and we're going to drive it in there. A little bit of a touch again. I really twitchy cat. And again, you talk about extending plays. Now it's time to go be an athlete. This is juice. I mean, this is some serious speed from Jonas Williams putting on display here. He's out. Difference maker at the quarterback spot. Now the question is, all right, how does he stack up to Ryder Lyons? And again, I don't think this is a conversation of either or, right? Ryder Lyons is going to take that mission. He's going to be essentially a 2027 guy. You can grab Jonas Williams, then you can grab Ryder Lyons. You kind of fast forward to the quarterback room in 2027, say Hassan Longstreet, Jonas Williams, Ryder Lyons. That's how we need these quarterback rooms looking for Lincoln Riley. Right now, it's a little sparse, right? Hassan Longstreet, Jaden, and then Sam here. It's just you want more competition and depth in the quarterback room. And when you're Lincoln Riley, you're USC, you have quarterbacks lined up out the door, I should say, to come play for you. Put together as talented of a quarterback room as you can. And I go back and wonder if this is a little bit of the Chad Bowden influence, saying, hey, Lincoln Riley, I get that you want to pick your quarterback and really go after that one quarterback, but that's just not how high school recruiting works anymore. You got to pick a couple of guys. You can't put all your eggs in one basket every single cycle. And that's not saying you can't really push your chips into a guy like Ryder Lyons, but you got to keep some other quarterbacks warm in case it doesn't go right for Ryder Lyons. You're not holding an empty bag at the end of 2026 with no quarterback. Kind of like the influence that you're seeing Chad Bowden go back to Notre Dame, stacking quarterbacks. There is a reason Notre Dame's not going to the transfer portal when Riley Leonard leaves. They got a lot of young cats that are really good in that quarterback room. That is what Chad Bowden wants to build at USC too. The more elite quarterbacks that you can put in a room under Lincoln Riley, the better the quarterback play is going to be. Jonas Williams is exciting, and we'll kind of see how the quarterback board shakes out for USC. I would still probably project that Ryder Lyons is the top target, but because he's not going to be coming until 2027, you can bring in Jonas Williams too. And I'd like to see them do that as well, because Jonas Williams, some big time upside that he brings to the table. USC going more than one quarterback, clearly getting back to the type of quarterbacks that have had success in the Lincoln Riley offense. This is how you want it to look. And again, I've been critical at times of Lincoln Riley. I will give him credit that this cycle feels a little bit different, and we'll see how it shakes out. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.